Help support the Twitchiest community by downloading Vikings War of Clans in the description down below and beating that tutorial. Hello everybody, we are here with your WASWAS guide. We're going to be starting off here, of course, playing her in the mid lane. We're going to be grabbing ourselves a Mage's Blessing. I'm going to get tier 1, going into do more. WASWAS, of course, does not have a getaway skill, so movement speed can tend to be pretty important for us. We're going to get ourselves a Purification Beads, especially against this Hun Bat, and head ourselves out towards the speed buff. So the thing about WASWAS is that, one, you can't say her name because you would hate to get yourself demonetized on 17 different platforms all at one time. So that's a little tidbit fun fact for her. So never ever say her name. And if you say it 3 times in the mirror, she appears behind you and takes you to Valhalla, even though she's an Egyptian goddess. That's another little fun fact. So for her passive, she has one of the best passives in the game that I don't think people really understand. So for her passive, she gains HP 5 and MP 5 for every player within 80 units that dies within that range, and this stacks up to 10 times. So she can get 20 HP 5 and 20 MP 5. The really crazy thing about this, though, is not necessarily the MP 5, HP 5, which is actually very good, but when you get it all the way stacked, you gain 10% cooldown reduction. 10% cooldown reduction. Also a part of her passive, for whatever reason, is her auto attack, but WASWAS does actually have an AoE auto here on the very last auto attack. So you do get that AoE little explosion effect, which is pretty cool. Mostly efficient in killing the archers in the laning phase. But can also be nice for landing that last little auto attack. It does make your auto a little bit thicker, so it becomes easier to land that last auto if you need to like land it on somebody for a last hit or something of that sort. The first ability that we're going to get, and the ability that we're going to max out first, is our 1. This ability is called Gust. It procs 4 times, and it is what you're going to be using for your main damage and clearing ability. It procs 4 times. You gain additional movement speed while you are in this form. You lose your movement speed penalties from side to side, and you also become immune to roots and knockback while this is effective. So you gain 25 bonus movement speed. You basically have a Fatalis on you while this is happening, and you get a little bit of those immunities to some of the more common forms of CC, which is nice. So standardly, you're just going to walk up to the wave and use this or the enemy gods. Spirit Ball, the ability that we got at level 2, is the ability that's the bread and butter of WASWAS. You really have to get good at landing this ability. This is a very long range, potentially, ability. You press it once to start the Spirit Ball, and then you press it again in order to actually use its effect. If you're inside that little circle range of the Spirit Ball, you take a bunch of damage and you are stunned for 1 second. Now, the thing about this ability is the longer it goes, the more damage it does. So if you can learn to yeet it from downtown and get hit, it does more damage than if you use it point blank. So it gets up to a lot of bonus damage if you can really send this down a lane. You can see how far it goes. Ability that we got there at level 4 after getting a 2nd point in our Gust for the lane clear is our Silence. This is a great ability to use as a setup for your Spirit Ball to make your Spirit Ball a little bit easier to hit. It's also just a great ability in general. It is going to silence any enemies within the area of the circle. Not only is it going to silence enemies within the circle, it is going to provide a slow on them as well. So it's going to slow your target by 20%. It is going to debuff their magical protections by a % amount, which means it's very good on tanks as well. It is going to silence them, and it's also going to provide a shield to you and your nearby allies. This ability does so many things, and when you rank it up, that silence is a 2.5 second silence. Like a ridiculously long silence. Although it will be the ability that we level up to max last. Not because it's a bad ability, it's just because she has so many good abilities. Finally, her ultimate. Her ultimate is going to be a big, fat, massive circle. This ultimate has a charge time on it. So the longer this ability is on the floor, / the longer that you're taking damage in this ability, the more it is going to charge up.
Enemy missing.
At a default level, it has some base damage and some base healing that it will throw down on you. The longer that it kind of sits there and charges up, the stronger that healing effect is going to get, the stronger that damaging effect is going to get, and you will have a little indicator right where your passive would normally be that will show you how much of the ability is charged up. So if you let it keep on charging, it can last down for 5 seconds. You can activate it again whenever you would like to, just like you can activate your spear ball again for the effect, and then it will do the explosion and do the damage and the healing inside of that area. Make sure you're not like inside of an Aegis or something when this is going off. If you're inside of an Aegis, you will not get the heal effect because you're not targetable. You do have to actually be targetable. Sometimes I see WASWAS players throw down the ulti and then an Aegis and then they pop it and then they don't realize that they're not actually going to get that effect from the heal. Every once in a while, that combo ends up being worth it because what you're actually doing is trying to just use it for the damage and you don't actually care about the heal. You know, you're just trying to live through like a burst. That's fine, it happens, but just in general, keep that in mind. Our ability max order that we're going to be doing is 4, 1, 2, 3. So get your ultimate whenever you can. Max out your wing gust for that clear. Then you get your spirit ball upgraded for the increased damage. And finally, your 3.
Your right tower is under attack.
If you were getting your absolute butt kicked and you thought that you needed to increase the 3 for the help on the defensive route, you could do it before your spirit ball. But really starting off with a big spirit ball in fights is a big part of WASWAS's kit. So I would recommend going 4, 1, 2, 3 and not 4, 1, 3, 2 on your level order.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Stay back.
On WASWAS for our build, we're starting off, you can see, with this cooldown. So we're going to have nice CDR from the Mage's Blessing and the cooldown boots. We've got 1 stack on our passive, which you can see down here on the bar with the funeral rites. When that gets to 10, that is when we get that 10% CDR
Enemy
added.
missing.
So keep in mind on WASWAS, you actually only need 20% CDR in your build, because you're going to get 10% from your passive and you're going to get 10% from red pot. So you certainly need less CDR than other characters need. So right there, you can see that we threw down our beats to start off that fight from the Hunbat's ulti. Janus came around. I waited for Janus to use his unstable vortex on me before I popped my ultimate. This made the charge on my ultimate much bigger, meaning that I got more damage out on the Janus from it, as well as getting more of that heal effect. So your ultimate is a bit of a waiting game. You don't want him to be able to run out of the circle, right? So you miss the damage on him, but you want to try to hold it as long as humanly possible for maximum effectiveness without waiting too long. Kind of like a Ymir ult, where with Ymir ult, you know, you're channeling, you're sitting there, you're charging it, you want to hold, but you don't want to accidentally hold too long and then they walk out of your ulti and then you blow up absolutely nothing. That's a disaster. So you have to be careful and get that timing down just right to get the maximum effect out of this ability. I'll be going into a Doom Orb here as my first major item. Doom Orb is not quite buffed yet, but it is going to be getting a cost reduction in the next patch. It is already a good item, particularly on gods that don't have a real getaway skill. WASWAS does fall into that category. But this item is going to be on a lot of gods once it gets that little gold reduction, becomes even cheaper. We love it on WASWAS because we get a bunch of good damage and we don't need to focus on stats like CDR. So I'm not worried about items like Spear of Desolation. You always got to be concerned about anti-heal. You know, make sure you get that Divine Ruin if you really need it. But on WASWAS, I'm more focused on damage. Because I'm more focused on damage, I'm also probably going to get a % pen item here a little bit earlier. So it's going to be a decently expensive build. So I'm going to grab Doom Orb. I'm going to go third item.
On my way.
Third item, Rod of Tahuti.
There is no turning back now.
And then I'm going to get myself a fourth item, Ob Shard. So we're going to go right into that % pen, get a big fat % pen off with all of our power. Rod of Tahuti is great for you because it's also going to help you with that healing amount as well. Reminder that Rod of Tahuti works forwards and backwards. It works on damage and healing. So on a god like WASWAS, it really, really doubles up and can help out a lot. Your standard combo that you're looking to deal damage with is going to be to start a fight with your Spirit Ball as far as you feel confident aiming it that you're going to hit it, okay? Just because if you Yeeticus Maximus it at maximum rank, it does more damage, doesn't mean you should always be using this at max range. Use it at the range that you're comfortable hitting it. If you're not comfortable that you're going to hit it, go ahead, throw down a Silence first. Throw down your 3. That'll silence them, make sure they can't use any abilities. It'll slow them. It'll make them easier to hit with that Spirit Ball. Your 3 does have a pretty solid range, so you can start off with your 3 and then still get a pretty good sized Spirit Ball out. So you really, really, really need to land the Spirit Ball consistently. So like you know, just play it safe. There's absolutely nothing wrong with playing a fight safe. Another great way to use Spirit Ball is kind of like how we just did it, which is a little bit as a zoning tool. So Xing 10 was very low HP, and he only has one way to run, right? So what you can do as well is, because Spirit Ball goes through walls, you can use it as a zoning technique. So say somebody's really low and they're running around through the jungle here, I can throw that Spirit Ball down and zone out that direction, forcing them to come back into me in range of my Wing Gust so I can grab the kill that way. That doesn't really work if the target's full HP, right? Because you need the damage from it. But if you don't actually need the damage from Spirit Ball, you can try to use it as a zoning technique to get them back into your team. You're better off throwing it further in front of them and missing that way than you are doing it like further behind them where they keep getting to run away. So I would recommend aiming it a little bit extra forward.
Your left tower is under attack.
For our 2 actives on WASWAS, we're going to be grabbing the Aegis, and we're going to get the beads. So earlier I mentioned that you don't want to accidentally pop your ultimate with that Aegis activated, but Aegis is such a good active in order to wait for your ultimate to charge up more. So you throw down your ulti, you pop the Aegis to try and stay alive, right? And then by the time you come out of your Aegis, you can use your ultimate again, pop it, and get a nice massive heal for yourself, which is awesome. You just have to be careful that you don't accidentally pop it too early. I need to be careful here. Every once in a while, I'll get a blink as my second active. This is only if I'm super fed. You can see that I'm 3-0, and I didn't get it. I'm not feeling super fed this game. I'm also worried about the amount of damage output that they have, so I'm not going to go a super aggressive blink build. We've got our passive halfway up, so we're halfway to another 10% CDR. We're only 100 gold away from Rada to Hootie, so we're going to hashtag one more wave. Which I now need to be very careful about. That's so unfortunate.
You have been
That Janus ult hit me so close yet so far. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to be able to get my full Rod of Tahuti anyway off of this. And so regardless, we're going to be getting our item. A great way to utilize your ultimate outside of team fights is for objective secure. If you go and look at the damage from this, 320 damage, plus it can go up to 3.5 times max charge if you get it all the way up in the late stages of the game. So this ability easily hits for over 1,000 damage, meaning that if you throw it down on top of Fire Giant, you throw it down on top of a Gold Fury, everybody's attacking the objective. It's very easy to build up this charge and then use it for an objective secure. On the Gold Fury, you're usually looking to use this right around half HP. On the Fire Giant, you're looking to use this ability closer to around the 33% HP range.
attack.
That way you can pop it again when you get that charge and secure the objective. Two people just backed up over here, so I'm going to try to cut off the Uller. He might know that I'm over here. I don't really think it matters. Just going to yeet a spirit ball through there. He goes down anyway. So for WASWAS, she's pretty unique in that all of her abilities go through walls. So your Wing Gust, you can Wing Gust this right through a wall, right? You can Spirit Ball way over a wall. You can throw your 3 down over a wall, and your ultimate. Every single one of your abilities will go over and through walls. This is very good because you do not have a traditional movement ability, meaning that you need to keep whatever you can between you and the enemy. Otherwise, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You do not have a very big base HP pool. You're pretty squishy, even as far as the mages go. But you do a disgusting amount of damage.
Your right tower is under attack.
Not to mention, you provide a large amount of CC as well with that Spirit Ball and Silent combo. So for gods that WASWAS loves to go against, I actually love going against Janus. I like going against anybody super reliant on one movement ability because of the way that her silence interacts with her. So I actually like her into any god that doubles down on an ability where their getaway skill is also a large damaging ability because of how long you can CC people for. So this goes for Thought Dash. This goes for Thought Dash. This goes for Janus Portal. Anybody like that where they have an ability that is a hybrid getaway / attacking ability. I love the amount of CC that you can provide to prevent them from both getting away and doing any damage. For gods that you don't want to go against, I don't like gods that can wall you off, like going against Ymir is a disaster. And I also don't particularly love going against gods that have displacement effects. Gods like Xingqian, Sobek, anything that can throw you out of your ultimate is a big fat bummer. Now the good news is that your Wing Gust is knockback immune. So something like a Hercules pull won't necessarily be the end of your existence. But for the most part, it's still a complete and total disaster. It's kind of like Heim, where Heim is really dependent on not getting displaced out of his 3. Same concept. A lot of your living comes down to your being able to sit in your ultimate, and so you want to make sure that you can't get thrown out of your ultimate. That, and of course, generically walls, because you don't have a real getaway skill. So Ymir that can wall you off in an alleyway, Thor that can wall you off in an alley, so you're just kind of stuck there and you can't do anything. You gotta be careful with those as well. So we've got a bunch of power right now. We've got our 20% CDR. We actually might have, I want to see when I spawn how many stacks I have. We actually might be up to 30% now. We saw quite a few people die over in that right side of the map. So let's see if we're up to that 30% CDR yet. No, we are not. We've got 8 out of 10 stacks. So if we can witness 2 more people die, then we'll have another 10% CDR. So here, as we move into the team fights, my ultimate is going to get used defensively a lot. A lot of the times you're using this ulti right on top of yourself in order to prevent yourself from getting dope. So the Hunbat dives on top of me, and I know he's going to try to ulti and lay down the law. Cool, I throw down my ultimate. That way he is now standing in a big, giant, detonating bomb. That is how you're going to use this ability most of the time. Every once in a while, you'll throw it down aggressively to get a last hit. We do that with quite a few abilities that are consistent like that, who you ult, stuff like that. But when you're really maximizing their usage, it's going to be because of getting people to basically sit inside of the entire thing. So I get dove on by Xing Tian, I get dove on by Hunbat. I quickly throw down that ulti at my feet. That way, I know that I can both scare off melee gods from coming into the range, as well as give myself that big fat heal. That's so unfortunate.
Thank you.
Guys, why am I the only person over by Fire Giant? Hello? Guys? Why do we have half our team over in the right lane when it's Fire Giant fight time? Oh no. That was an unfortunate beach that I had to use right there.
Be careful, left.
I mean, yeah, but they're just gonna like do the Fire Giant, boys. somebody's gotta stand here, right? You can pop your abilities on WASWAS after death, which actually makes her a very, very good objective stealer as well. So be aware that that WASWAS ulti kind of can lay down the law and be very scary around objectives. It will go off no matter what.
Your right tower is under attack.
So now that we're transitioning into the late game team fights, I stand back. Get back, get back. You don't know me like that. My job is to be real far back and just kind of launch out some spirit balls, look for some nice poke. There's 400 damage. And to get those shields out for my team. Don't forget, like, look at this shield right now. 230 shield for my team that can potentially proc on 5 people. I mean, that's 1,000 HP of shield. There's a reason why Yamoja is so good with their shield, so make sure you are trying to use that in a fight. Gonna get a nice spirit ball off, force me a nice Janus beads right there. Start backing up because the Uller is heading this way and I do not have any beads up. That is a Hunbat's jump. Fafnir's going in as well. I'm gonna sit over this wall, throw down his spirit ball right onto Fafnir as he comes out of his dragon form. Throwing down a silence over the wall just in case I was about to get ganked. And I'm just gonna keep throwing down those deep spirit balls. Trying to land those. I gotta be real careful with the Xing Tian and the Hunbats. See Hunbats over the wall, I'm gonna silence him and then I look for the spirit ball. I'm gonna land the spirit ball as well over that wall. That was also max distance. Hunbats is now gonna be going down. Great Ymir wall right there. We might actually be able to go look at the Fire Giant. I mean, I've got my ultimate up. I really feel like we could just go do the Fire Giant like super easy right now. We've got a 5v3 and I've got WASWAS all. They might Janus ulti it. Do we have a single sentry? We do. As long as we can sentry this, we should be okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna be throwing down my ultimate. right around that 33%, 40% HP marker. So I'm gonna throw it down right about now. And what I wanna do is I wanna combine my 2 and my ulti at the exact same time. So you can pop your Spirit Ball and your ultimate at the same time. So right when you're about to pop your ultimate on objectives, throw out your Spirit Ball. The second your Spirit Ball is in range of the objective, click your 2 again, click your 4 again, and make sure that you're using both of those at the same time. It's all but guaranteeing somewhere in the 1,000 to 2,000 damage burst range, which means that realistically, she's one of the best objective secures in the entire game of Smite, as long as you use the Spirit Ball and the ultimate together for that secure. We're gonna back up again. We do have our passive fully stacked, so we have got 30% CDR. At the end of the game, the build becomes a little bit less important. I'm not super dedicated to any particular items. I'm actually gonna rank up my beads before I get rid of my Mage's Blessing. The beads are super important for me this match. They got the Hunbat's ult, the Xing 10 ult, just a lot of CC in general. So I'm gonna go into Spear of the Magus. Gonna give me a little bit of flat pen here, help me out, try to burn down some of these squishies instantaneously, plus give me a little bit of that bonus damage against some of these tankier gods. In general, I do still like Spear of the Magus even after it got nerfed, but I like it as more of a 5th, 6th item than I do as a first 4 item. I find that percent damage really comes into play once you're into the team fights and once everybody on your team has a little bit more damage built in their kit. Because it's that percent damage, the more damage you got, the more damage that 7.5% really is becoming.
Your team has destroyed your middle tower is under
Gonna
attack.
throw down a sentry ward over here in between the towers. Make sure we get good vision on Phoenix fight. Isis ult. Oh no, I accidentally said it. Oh no, there it goes. WASWAS ult is great for throwing down on the actual Phoenixes like this, because this is going to completely zone out and give your team so much to work with. So I popped my ultimate a little early right there, and the reason why I did it is because my Bastet was about to die. But you can see that I fully healed our Bastet, literally from 10% up to about 100%. So I had popped my ultimate a little bit early just to give her that effect, so that she would be able to continue out this fight. Because she was able to continue out this fight, we've actually got 4 members alive right now. I'm looking at the Hunt match. I'm gonna hit him with a silence. I'm gonna hit him with a stun, and we're gonna be able to put this game away. So when you're defending and assaulting Phoenixes with WASWAS, you're really looking to throw down that ulti just in range of it, so that your entire team can walk up into that range, just like the Bastet did. She walked into the range of the ulti. She knew that I was gonna pop it for her. I do. It full heals her. I think it might have also done a bunch of damage to Fafnir. I'm not actually sure if he was channeling his ulti yet for the immunity at that point. And then we get to continue that push. Everybody got nice regen. Also, a lot of people don't build anti-heal against WASWAS, which is a really big mistake, because her ulti has a lot of potential burst healing. So for our last item that game, we grabbed the Spear of the Magus. I was leaning into a Soul Reaver. That's because they had a very tanky Fafnir and Xing 10. In general, the Soul Reaver is still a good item. It did get nerfed recently. I like it against the tankier team still. But also I like it combined with other percentage type items. If you're going to combine it with like an E-staff in the late game to get some of that going, which I would have planned as well. I was going to actually sell my boots that game and get an E-staff just to get a little bit of that extra damage from Spirit Ball. Throw a Spirit Ball from downtown. If you can get max range Spirit Ball damage, plus you get something like a Soul Reaver and an E-staff on it, all proccing at the same time, that very easily goes from like a 900 damage ability to like a 1400 damage ability. And that is our WASWAS guide.